it's time to have a look at the month ahead for September, the month of Virgo. And as we look at what's happening in our world, in our country, of course, the BRICS summit is underway as we speak, and it certainly looks like the president is doing all sorts of big, important political things and all the right things as far as that organization is concerned. And indeed, the stars concur. It really does look like a good time for international relations. Obviously, that can't always refer to everyone at the same time, but with regards to a lot of people's concerns about how this might affect relationships we have with other countries, what reflects well in the chart at the moment is the strength of South Africa within the international community. For example, even if other non-BRICS related or applicants are looking at South Africa, and perhaps other allies who are not in the BRICS grouping looking at South Africa and wondering what the hell is going on, certainly at the very least, they're also looking at South Africa and noticing or taking note of South Africa's central role, not only obviously in hosting that conference, but also in organizing and in the political drivers behind it. So South Africa is showing very strong in the international community at the moment, which hopefully will bleed into other areas such as trade and such as the strength of the currency. The strength of the currency is looking great at the moment, and we can expect some improvement in that regard, as well as some improvement in financial matters in general. Not necessarily the economy as a whole, but certainly in terms of the financial squeeze that both the country and individuals are feeling, there does seem to be some relief in that regard. What is important is that whether it's regards to trade, BRICS, and those kind of things or not, we do need to be careful at this time of complacency and reliance on partners that are not as reliable as it seems. There do seem to be some kind of letdowns for the country in resources in the month ahead, and that's going to be something which can threaten some kind of economic stability or foundation or whatever. Many of the economic challenges come out of things like, corrupt deals and bad suppliers and so on, and it's that kind of warning that lies in the chart this month. So there might be some revelation of some, we ordered the wrong parts, or we were getting the trains from the wrong place, the wrong trains. It's one of those kind of situations that looks possible, that could unfold in this time or is happening at this time, and we'll become aware of it a little bit later. So this is with regards to our reliance on others. However, the strength of the country in the international community at the moment is something that's going to help save the day as usual. The government itself is making many changes, both in response to whatever's happening in the international situation, as well as whatever's happening in the local situation. Whether it's the coalition of opposition parties or other matters that are opposing the government, it does look like they are taking notice and they are making some changes, including some radical changes. We may see such extremes as a change in the cabinet, or a very clear, distinct change with regards to some policy or with regards to something that the president is up to. It's looking like it's a good time for the president. And in fact, the next few months, as he pulls away from some of the pressure that's been on him from all sorts of different angles, and is actually able to operate at whatever it is that he's up to. We know that we never find out much of what he's up to because he's a Scorpio, and a lot of people think maybe he's up to nothing at all. Probably not. Scorpios just conceal their hands very well and often look like they're doing nothing when it's all happening behind the scenes. But some of that is going to come right out into the open in the month ahead and the coming months as some of these bigger changes are made. And to some extent as well, the government will also rattle its sabers, show its strength, and that could also probably be in response to what's been happening in the opposition and the opposition parties. In other domestic matters, though, things aren't looking quite as great. There does seem to be a lot of opposition from or trouble from labor and the workers, and there's a lot of dissatisfaction. There could be demonstrations or strikes or those kind of things. We've seen strike action, for example, in Cape Town in the previous month. Here we're looking on a more national scale that there could be some saber rattling right back at the government with respect to all of that. Still, it looks like this is a good month to negotiate some of those things. So if anyone in government is listening, this is a great time to actually stop rattling sabers at each other and do some negotiating and sorting things out, because that's going to work. If we're lucky, we might find they didn't need my advice and they just got on with that on their own, because it does look like this is a month for good results from negotiations of all kind between those in power and those who don't have any of the power. When it comes to power, of course, Eskom is an ongoing issue, and Eskom is an ongoing issue in the month ahead. Power crisis could reach some peaks at this time. It does look like, again, there is some benefit from international relationships, things like that. We might find whether, it's Car Power Ship or some other international source that does help us with energy matters at the moment. But on the whole, not a good month for Eskom and the crisis around Eskom, and perhaps that refers as well to other major state crisis agencies such as PRASA as well, which might also be why the chart is showing so much labor issue, so much demonstration, so much dissatisfaction amongst the people. That is ongoing, and that's going to also feed into the opposition, which shows in the chart as creating some a response in the government. So as we've expected, social forces and opposition political forces are beginning to focus as we approach an election down the road. It does look like that is putting pressure on the government. And while we know that the government, like any government, responds because there's an election next year, it really does look like there's something bigger going on, and the seeds are being planted for bigger changes right now. This is an ongoing process as this year continues, but the forces of change are there, both in the populace, the people side of the chart, as well as the government side of the chart. And gradually, as much as there can be interaction, opposition, and fighting between people, opposition, government, and all of those things, as I've said, there is a focusing on forces that's going to lead to a greater change in the end. So hang in there. We have to deal with the uncertainty and insecurity of change, but it is getting somewhere. So hold on to the train. We're on our way. For Aries, this is a month of doing lots of fun, interesting, and new things, hopefully in the shape of travel, but some Aries will get an opportunity to learn new things or explore exotic and wonderful, strange things that you might always have been interested in. Of course, if you're part of the gig economy, this is a great time for traveling while working. But more importantly, what really looks to be on the agenda this month for you, Aries, is looking at and perhaps revising some of your bigger ideals. This is a month to ask yourself, why are you doing what you do? And perhaps getting away, being away from your regular environment is a great way to do that. So even if you don't get a chance to travel far and wide, it's a good opportunity to maybe just take a different route, maybe spend the weekend somewhere else and give yourself that different perspective that'll help you reshape some of your goals. In fact, reshaping or not, this is a great time to set some bigger goals, set some bigger ideals. In the line of what am I doing this for, doesn't only apply to your professional life, but it applies to everything else. And it's a great time to just reassess, am I getting what I need from everything that I do? Am I doing my best, living my best as much as possible? Because this is a time, Aries, where you can pursue your ideals, pursue your biggest ideals, and actually get them. So go for it. Taurus, you should already be on a roll and things should be working out in terms of especially professional goals. But if you have any other missions or goals that you're trying to fulfill at this time, this is a great time because it looks like everything is lining up for you to do just what you want to do. So much so that you might have to get a little bit more selfish. Not necessarily a problem, but if you're worrying about stepping on anyone's toes, this is not a time to be worrying about that. It's kind of let the chips fall where they may in terms of pursuing your goals the way that you need to do. It's like this is a time to have creative control of everything, and that's especially how you want things done. For those of you who've been waiting, hanging back, ready to make a big change at work of any kind, now is the time to make that change, because anything that's around these so-called selfish goals is going to work for you. Selfish doesn't mean mean and horrible. Selfish means getting your priorities in order at this stage. And right now, those are what I'm calling creative priorities, things that come from you, things that make your world happen. What's really going to work for you. They don't have to be artistic to be creative. It means you're in control of your world. This is the time to take control, Taurus, of goals, of things, and even of people. Everything will fall in line behind you. Geminis also have a chance to pursue some important goals this month, but you actually need to be a little bit more pragmatic around it, Gemini. It's not just about grand ideals and being in charge and off you go. You actually need to see some return. Kind of means this is a month to be paying attention to financial matters, to your income, and being sure that it's working your way. You can't always be in control of that, but you can rearrange things to make sure you're not giving away any of your time, your resources, or your energy where there's nothing coming back to you. This actually could be a good month for money as long as you're paying attention. You don't have to work extra hard to take advantage of the benefits in your chart. What you do need to do, that word pragmatic, and being more practical about it, you also need to be more realistic about it. Focus on what you know to be true and real. Identify what you know to be your fantasies, ideals, dreams, and wishes right now. There's nothing wrong with dreams and wishes and fantasies in general. Just right now, when we're trying to get the financial matters in order, they're in the way because actually the stars suggest this is a great time to get finances in order. There is money wanting to come in, money wanting to find you. Should be great for that once you're focusing on the right things. So put aside the grander ambitions and goals until just a little bit later in the year. Focus on what's real, possible, and relevant right now. It's going to come right in for you. Cancerians, you might have been spending quite a bit of time on your own in this last month, and that's not something you don't like to do. So all good. It looks like some of that is continuing, and there certainly is a lot of quiet time and a lot of withdrawal time for you. Not something you're averse to, but maybe something you should take better advantage of, because astrologically, this also looks like a great time to pay more attention to your inner life, your spiritual life, and do some of that inner development while you're waiting for the outside world to catch up with you, because it looks like there are things that you need or want to expect from the world out there that just are not coming your way just yet. So you've got to be patient and persistent. There does seem to be help coming to you from far off sources. It's not help that's easy to reach or easy to take on board. Perhaps you need to lower some of your pride, will make it a lot easier. So be willing to accept what's coming your way. Be willing to receive. That's what the lesson for this month is for you, because right now you might find yourself relying on others, but that input is going to take you a lot further in the months ahead when you finally kind of come out of your shell or your Cancerian hiding place and come back into the world stronger and more resourceful than ever. Let them provide the resources for once. You'll get back into your providing role in the months ahead. Leo, with your birthday past and everything seeming to pick up momentum, you are so ready to roll, and it is happening. But there does seem to be a certain amount of frustration. What's important to remember this month, Leo, is that you're not waiting for anything to resolve or complete. You're not waiting for results from any of the things that you're doing. It's really just about getting things into motion, or kind of reining in, corralling some of those urges and itches, and I'm kind of wanting something to happen, and focusing them in one direction. This is a great month for projects, for things that need your total control, for you to cover all the possible options and rope them together. That's something that you're good at, and that's something that's especially relevant right now. That's really going to work. As I said, most important thing, though, is not to measure by outcomes just yet. You will see that in the months ahead, because this particular month of September is going to be great for you. You're going to get a lot of satisfaction. So focus on how you're enjoying what you're doing and the sense of relief or satisfaction that you get from being able to express your kind of creative control and the things that you want to do. Give yourself a chance to get it all out there, get everything moving, and then later on you can start checking on how those results are working for you. Well, happy birthday, Virgo. This is going to feel like a great birthday month because it really looks like things are coming home for you. Results, rewards, maybe even some money, but certainly some comeback from all the hard work you've been doing, all the stuff that you've been putting out there. In fact, Virgos, you can afford to just wind down some of that effort. It seems as if you're putting out way too much energy because you'd get just as much gain, reward, even money doing half the work. So that's your challenge for the month, is do half the work. Try and do less and discover that you can get just as more coming back to you. It is really going to work. It's a great month for all kinds of resources, not only rewards and payment coming your way, but where you need to rely on others and draw in some of the others' talents or resources. That's also a great way to make sure that you're not putting in too much of the energy. There is a challenge in your chart kind of to allow your workers to work and not do their work for them, or anyone, whether they're your workers, employees, or anyone else that you're relying on. Just let go, let it come to you when it's done, because it looks like things are just coming your way. You can sit back, relax, have a great birthday party. That's a great way to do September 23 for you. And next month, you can perhaps find a better, more balanced, less hardworking approach to things. Libra, you need to step back and get some perspective. You might be overwhelmed by what's happening in your environment. Your goals are great, you're doing great, but it seems as if the world around you isn't 100% supportive, just in the sense that you might just be in the wrong place or the environment is not providing what you need. Maybe you need to move. That could be quite a big change, but for some of you, that's going to be the right approach. But it doesn't even have to be that radical. You just really need to ask yourself, does my world around me serve me? Not so much the people, it's the places, although the people could come into that. So whether it's neighbors or anyone in your environment who might be the source of the disturbance, or more likely the environment itself, you need to find a more harmonious environment at the moment. A little bit of stepping back from everything that you're doing is going to enable you to do that. It's still a great time to pursue your own goals. You do need to make some adjustments, perhaps to someone else's requirements or needs. So then there does need to be negotiation of some kind. But the way to get it to really succeed is to make sure that you're not distracted and disturbed by external things, the environment not related to your goals, that are getting in your way. Clean up your world, and your path to your goals is just as clean. Scorpio, it's your month for getting back down to basics. For the last while, you've been too distracted by too many things, and that might have had some consequences, distracted from your goals and getting off your path a little bit. And it's time to kind of wind that right back and get to what you want to do. In order for that to happen, you actually need to be a little bit more communicative. Your natural mode is to be, the strong silent type, and that's great in some circumstances. But right now, communication is important, because getting back down to basics means making sure you're pursuing what you need to do at the moment. There's a general theme going on this month about goals and ideals and getting those in order, and it applies to you too, Scorpios. So this is a great opportunity in focusing on what's important to just tidy up and revise some of your longer term goals, because it looks like some of those are available to you right now in the month ahead. This is a great opportunity then to just go for it. This is like the last mile for some of those goals. Once you let go of some of that baggage, of all the unnecessaries and all the distractions that might have been coming from other people at the moment. So that focus is also meaning time to wrap things up, bring some things to conclusion, things that you've been dragging along, unfinished business, all of that. This is the opportunity once and for all to get it done. Get it done. Sagittarius, you're not averse to a little bit of extra fun, and there's no shortage of that happening at this time. In fact, it's likely that the last little while has been a little bit stressful, or in some way bearing down a little bit too much on you. You need a little bit of a break. Doesn't have to be a holiday, although that would be a great idea. But making a big change, whether it's that holiday, traveling, or if you get a chance to make a move, that'll be even better. But just getting yourself to a different space, different people, doing different things, and not necessarily even people, even doing it on your own. This is a great opportunity to just do your thing, to focus on something you like to do that gives you fun and pleasure. You just need a little bit of a break, and this is the time to get it. There might not be the opportunity because of work and things like that. So when it comes to work and those things, focus on making sure you're feeling some kind of creative outlet, feeling that you're getting the opportunity to do things that you like, or whatever part of the work that gives you a sense of feeling like yourself, because that's a little bit of what's been missing, and you need to get back to. You need to feel a little bit more like the old you, the you that you recognize. And the way to do that is simple, pleasurable things, the things that would have been quite amusing and engaging as a child. What were you doing when you were left to your own devices to play? Just get back to yourself that way. Capricorn, it looks like a little self-care is needed, something you easily neglect and forget about, your own health and other little things which might actually be improved if only you just bothered to get them done. So there's also a bit of old baggage that you're carrying around, but some of that could be health matters, whether it's things you know about, like you should have been to the dentist for ages, or there's that little niggle you're supposed to take care of, or things you don't, and you just haven't really done a bit of self-check, self-care for a while. Take care of those things could make all the difference to just getting rid of old, unnecessary, and sometimes unknown baggage that you could be carrying along with you. What's more important at this time, or should I say really what's equally important at this time, is for you to concentrate on relationships. There's some important, good relationships in your life right now that you can build upon, but you need to find that balance between worrying about yourself and your own needs and all of those things that you need to do for yourself, as well as the demands of a relationship. Be careful that you don't feel too restricted or obliged or too responsible to another person right now, because this is the time to be focusing on yourself, not too much of focusing on another person. But all older relationships, all existing relationships can really be a great source of support at this time. Build on that, but focus on yourself. Aquarius, this is a time to be focusing on relationships for you. In contrast to your Capricorn friends, you maybe have been spending too much time focused on your own stuff and not really paying attention to what needs to be done with respect to relationships. This is a great time to be drawing on those relationships, to be leaning on people you know, people you love, people who love you. There's great support in terms of emotional, recognizing you being seen from those around you and those that you love. This is also important for old, long existing relationships. And if that's a romantic relationship that you're in, that we're talking about here, sometimes being that long-standing can also mean taking things for granted. In terms of your romantic relationship, whatever it actually might be, this is time to make sure that you're not keeping things to yourself and that you're actually speaking up. Communication is always important and always a challenge in relationships. But this month, it's really about showing your feelings, even more than just talking about them, making sure that you're showing your vulnerabilities and that you're sharing the most intimate side of yourself with your partner, because it could be creating an unnecessary wall between you and someone else. So break down the wall, spit it out, show what you're really feeling, build the bonds in the relationships that matter. Pisces, this is one of those times when you need to be just a little bit more aware and careful. You might be getting a little bit casual, slacking off, and allowing and assuming that everyone's fine and everyone's got your best interests at heart. And of course they don't. It's not that anyone's out to get you. It's just that people mostly have their own interests at heart. And right now, that's not going to serve you very well at all. So get your own interests into the picture again by being a little bit more selfish. Selfish simply meaning focusing on your own stuff, getting your own priorities in order. And they are quite Piscean at the moment. This is a great opportunity to just get more in touch with that philosophical, spiritual side of yourself. You've been putting too much of your energy into other people in the world around you. Just draw some of it back and remember what you care about the most. What you care about the most is people and the things that benefit people. But now you've got to really get back to the thoughts of what can I do? What are my bigger ideas? What are my goals with respect to what can I do for the world and what can I do for people? And making sure that you're getting a lot of satisfaction out of it at the same time. So it's just a question of putting it all in, Pisces, focusing back on yourself, focusing back on making sure that ideas, philosophies, different and interesting things are on your table again so that you feel more like you, and then everything will